Hey, 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 it's the Women of Wrestling podcast here on ringbellsonline.com. I'm Irish G. Allen as usual. My colleague Freaky Lee Burton is right here.
I'm so excited.
We are excited because not only is it episode 39 of the podcast, it's the first time that we've ever had a guest that we're splitting across two podcasts.
Yes.
That means big guest, everybody, and just someone we're going to be over the moon to talk to, and that's going to be Lisa Moretti. You'll know her better as Ivory in WWE and Tina Ferrari in Glow. And we're going to talk to her today, and we're going to talk to her again on the next podcast. And it's all because this week, as we record this, I'm recording this on Tuesday, the 1st of May, Lisa will be heading off to LA very soon to check out the LA premiere of Glow, the story of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, the documentary that we talked about last time as well with Little Egypt, which premiered just last weekend in Toronto. It's going to have its LA premiere where there's going to be all of the Glow girls there to check it out and do a Q&A as well. And we thought, well, what we'll do is we'll talk to her before the show, before the premiere, and then we'll talk to her again after the premiere.
Yeah.
So what we're going to get is basically a two-part show. Yeah,
which means that for the first part, primarily, you're not going to hear a huge amount of WWE talk.
Yeah.
But what you are going to hear a little bit, I guess, because, you know, invariably, I guess there's little bits that are going to skip over because there's a lot to talk about. But primarily what we're looking at is everything that's pre-WWE.
Yes, and obviously about the documentary this week as well. And when we talk to her again next week, we're going to ask her how the documentary went. We're going to get any stories, any insight she has. It's going to be the first time that she's going to get to see the finished product as well, I understand. And we're also next week going to have a chance to talk to her about all her time in WWE as well. So hopefully it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm really hoping it's going to be a lot of fun because we have a sort of list, I guess, and
the mythical list.
Yes, in this list, we've got certain people who we say, look, these are the people who we absolutely positively would just I don't know, do illegal things to try and get hold of speaking to this person, and Lisa Moretti is on that part of the list.
Yes.
So I've had to do many illegal things to make this happen.
Note, from a legal point of view, we have not done anything illegal to make this happen.
Please do not investigate.
Yes, but no, seriously. So we're gonna talk to Lisa in just a little bit, and just want to remind everybody before we get her on the show the various ways you have of interacting with us. Obviously, you got the website. You can email us, ringbells@gmail.com.
Yep, we've got our Facebook and Twitter pages, so that's facebook.com/ringbells, and then we've also got Twitter, which is twitter.com/ringbells.
It's almost like we thought these things through.
It is. We're no slouches here. We've also got a little bit of a t-shirt shop, which we've been building up recently. We've got quite a few new designs on there, so that's ringbellsonline.com/shop, or if you're on the website, you could just click on the shop tab at the very top of the page, and you can pick between the American or the European shop.
Yes. And if you're a subscriber to the podcast on iTunes, and if you're not, why on earth are you not? But if you are a subscriber, you'll have noticed yesterday the latest bit of audio from us was the second edition of Rush Hour with Courtney Rush, talking to Red Tank Kelly Skater about all manner of things. And so subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a review as well.
And then also, there's other audio shows which we've got which aren't based on iTunes. That is our Fight Like a Girl show, and also My Name Is, which is introducing women to you who you may not know that much about because they might be a little bit newer to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we do in ringbellsonline.com. But what we're going to do now is we're going to get some music on, and we are going to come back with the one and only Lisa Moretti. Okay, and we are back on the Women of Wrestling podcast with our guest at this time. She'll be known probably to most people as Ivory in WWE, but for the purposes of today's conversation, we're going to be talking a lot about Tina Ferrari and Glow. She is the fantastic Lisa Moretti. Lisa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here to talk about old times.
Oh, man, you don't know. I mean, you know, you've been right towards the top of our list of prospective guests for a long time, and it's a thrill to get a chance to talk to you. And not only just to get a chance to talk to you, but to get a chance to talk to you when it's sort of, there's some news going on as well. And I mean, that's the first thing we're probably going to talk about, and that is the fact that we're here to talk about Glow, the story of the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, the documentary by Brett Whitcomb and Jason Connell. Just had its world premiere last Friday in Toronto, and you're going to be heading off, I believe, tomorrow to the LA premiere, where there's going to be a lot of your fellow Glow alumnus there as well. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. It's been really great to see the Glow girls. We've actually met about a year ago when the film, or maybe it was 2 years now ago, in Los Angeles, and Brad and Brett were both there, the writer and the director of the film, and they wanted to get, kind of some final footage of all of us together. So we decided to meet, and of course, it's always up in the air as to, who will show up and who can make it, because some of the girls are still in Las Vegas, and plenty of them are living in Los Angeles, but several have moved, to other states. And, I know Ashley lives, my friend Nadine, who played my tag team partner, Ashley Cartier. She's way out in Chicago. I know a few others that are out in, Little Rock, Arkansas, and other states. So it's hard for them to come out on their own dime. But we had, we had a banquet room full of all the girls. And I felt like the biggest fan in the world because, you kind of have this memory of the characters from what they look like on TV. And then when you see them, and it's been 25, 26 years later, and they still look like, California doll. I was going around the room going, oh my God, it's Americana. Oh, it's Susan Spirit. Oh my God. I felt like a total fan of these characters. But they're all, it was really fun to be around people just like me, where they're these girls that have high energy and a goofiness about them, but they're still women and they have their lives now that they've been leading, whether they've been professionals or family people or moms or what. It was so great to catch up with them. All of them, I have to tell you though, are still just as weird as ever, if you can imagine. All of us young girls becoming Glow girls, I mean, what the heck was that, right? I mean, it was an idea. It wasn't even something you could put your finger on.
No, it's
until we made it something you could put your finger on, and now it's being made into a film. So it's a really neat thing to see it Glow get some kind of professional attention, and I can't wait to see the film. I don't really know what to expect, and a couple years that I was out of touch with Glow when it was in its third and fourth season and run by Matt Simber, the director who directed the first two seasons as well. And they had a shift because David McLean, left with some of us, and we did Powerful Women of Wrestling. So we moved more towards an East Coast operation out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and we traveled around, and we started mixing with Luna Vachon and Peggy Lee Leather and Bambi, and Wendy Richter was our color commentator alongside Dick the Bruiser. So we kind of went in a little slightly different direction, and Glow stayed in Vegas for its third and fourth season with a whole new cast, as well as some of their tried and true, Mount Fiji and Matilda the Hun, and a few of them stayed with Matt Simber back in Las Vegas. But so it's great to meet those girls because they know us, the first, group, but we don't know them as well because we didn't work with them. So it's kind of cool that way too, because we all come together as a family and we're watching this, film that documents the 4 seasons of Glow and all the ins and outs and behind the scenes of it. So I'm certainly expecting to learn a lot, even though I was there for the first 9 months of filming. I'm sure that the drama continued, so I can't wait to see what that is.
Well, it's funny you mention about the friendship and things like that, because before we started the recording, I just pulled off a quote from one of the reviews from somebody who saw it in Canada at the Hot Docs Festival, and it says that, just read a little bit of it here. It says, "Glow, the story of the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, is a fun and surprisingly touching tale of both friendship and overcoming the odds without ever being too sentimental. The film will bring a smile to your face while in the theatre and have you surfing YouTube for more classic Glow moments when you get home." I mean, it does bring up all those feelings that you're talking about, just encapsulating the friendship side of things and also about the fun side of it. And it does seem to be very popular too, because we've seen photos from some of the screenings that have already happened, and there's queues going round the corner.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? It's and you find out through reuniting with some of the women that they've had through all these years. They've had fans, and they've been in contact with these fans. In fact, one of the girls, after the show folded, was able to retain some rights to some footage. And she's, been wonderfully dedicated in trying to, push for kind of a new surge of a new Glow show. And, through the last 20 years or so, it's probably, tried all different kinds of formulas and genres to try to make, whether it's a sitcom or a reality show or, you know how it is in LA. You're just kind of always, where's the money and where's the resources to make this happen, and how do you convince these women to come back out of their real lives where they're actually able to pay their mortgages, and maybe they have other ties like their jobs and their husbands and commitments. How do you pull it together? But it's still, I think the commitment she has is relevant to the life that's still in the project. So that's kind of what's intriguing, and maybe that's what brought Brent and Brad and Jason together in creating this film around Glow. There's still this creature there that's, waiting to be, risen, I guess.
Well, that's actually...
So we'll see what happens. It's kind of an exciting time for all of us, and potentially for some new blood that could, make something like Glow resurface as a really viable, action-packed show or movie or, drama, or just a downright fun wrestling show. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to, something hopefully, maybe, I know the tagline for the Glow documentary was something about the rise and fall of the first all-ladies wrestling show. And I'm hoping that, it's not dead, because I don't really think it is. There's too much life around it, So we'll see what happens.
So you do make a good point. It's something that we've noticed as we've sort of covered a bit more of Glow of late because of this documentary bringing stuff back to the surface again. There's still quite a lot of people out there who, even after, over 20 years have passed since the last shoot was wrapped, people who still would consider themselves and call themselves proudly Glow fans. Obviously you went on to... You went on to like bigger things in WWE and international fame that way. But are you surprised still that there's such sort of good feelings towards something that's over 20 years old now? Yeah,
well, I think that first of all, I was I'm super impressed and always have been by the power of the media as somebody who's experienced it firsthand. In that, when you're all of us, I think that started Glow way back when Mando Guerrero was hired, to teach all these bimbos how to wrestle. Can you imagine this poor fella?
Oh, I know.
They probably could never, ever pay him enough because, look at his, I always often look at Mondo's position as being, a generation wrestler. His whole family is into wrestling and promoted wrestling, and it's very dear to his lifeline, and they're so good at it. And then here he happens to be the guy with enough charisma and a man of Los Angeles kind of, he's hireable in Los Angeles, whether it's acting or stunts or wrestling. So he gets scooped up and takes on the job of trying to find a few girls, a handful, 10 to 15 girls that can go off and successfully shoot something that looks like wrestling to package a pilot for this idea of gorgeous ladies of wrestling. So I often put myself in his boots, and I think, what a task for Mando. So, he brought his passion, though, I think, to those tryouts. And that certainly is what made me stick. I went there because my girlfriend Nadine, who is my tag team partner Ashley, was an actress. And so she got a call for an audition. So she wanted to drag me over there because we were friends from cheerleading days. So I went and didn't know anything about wrestling and certainly didn't want to get pushed around and squashed by a bunch of big, huge muscle women. But when I met Mando, he's the guy that turned me on to wrestling because he was so passionate about it. And he was so spunky and so good at it. And he expected all of these lame girls that were actresses to be as, you know, to have that same respect for the sport. So, or at least for him while he was teaching you what he could of the sport. So that's what kind of kept making me come back. And eventually we shot a pilot with our handful of girls, about a dozen girls. I'll never forget that first match. You take your first bump and you don't know what direction you actually came into the room. All your compasses get knocked off course. You can it's probably like scuba diving. You don't know which way is up, down. But it was sure frightening and fun and exciting, and I guess it came off okay because they were able to sell the show and call us back and hire us, and off to Vegas we went to go shoot this funny show. But anyway, it's going to be really. What was your question anyway?
It was a long time ago.
Am I just a total rambler? I'm a rambler.
It's fine. I'm
surprised you guys even have the patience to listen to me.
No, you are an interviewer's dream. I can sit back and ask you a question and then make myself a cup of tea. It's fantastic.
And go vacuum and go paint your house.
Yeah, it's exactly what we want.
Sorry, I'm working on the second coat. Excuse me.
You've probably already revamped the engine in your car by now.
Something like that, yeah. But no, I mean, you essentially covered quite a lot of stuff we were going to already ask you about, so fantastic. So,
this allows us to ask some of the different questions.
But no, I mean, as far as that was concerned, I mean, I'm really interested and I'm really intrigued by, and you said, you must have had the patience of a saint to do it, but I am intrigued by this whole idea of Mando being given these girls and said, go and make something passable. I mean, you clearly, turned out one of the better of his products, and I guess, what do you put that down to? Did you have any sort of athletic background? I know you weren't a wrestling fan, but what was it about you or about your personality that brought you back, that kept you going?
I think it's well, I'll tell you what it is, because I've seen it pop up in my life several times, and it's I think if you get an opportunity, somebody puts you up in front of a crowd, and this happened to me in high school when a girlfriend of mine, she signed me up to be a song leader, pom-pom girl, the dancing cheerleaders, and this was our last year of high school, so the senior, and she signed me up. So I was like, what'd you do that for? So all of a sudden now I'm on the list, and I'm expected to show up with a routine for the whole entire school to judge me, to pick me or not.
Ooh. And
that's just how it was. So it's that kind of thing where if you're in the spot and it kind of, you're not so shy that you're just going to say, forget it, I'm not doing it. So if you're in, you're in. And you're either going to do the best you can or you're going to, not do very well. So I guess it's kind of the efficacy factor. It's how hard are you willing to work to do the very best you can with a situation that arises. So that's just kind of what it was. It was like, okay, Mando, and I always really, I'm an athletic person anyway, and I really love being coached. I love learning. I love being taught things that I don't know. Especially, I love doing things that I didn't think I could do. So that's what Mando, and that's why I give him such, attributes and accolades, because he probably has done that for more people than just me in his lifetime. He's so passionate about what he does, and he has the ability to say, you can do this. Just let me lead you. Let me show you. So that sunk in with me. And, I kept trying and doing, and it scared the crap out of me, and it was really scary to fall backwards and for the first time. And, I remember learning how to drop kick later on. That was in POW days. because I noticed how crappy I drop kicked. I got about two inches off the ground, and it felt like I was, it was a horrible deal. So I just remember putting my mind to it and wanting to be good at it. It took me several years. I don't think I was ever really good at it until I got done training way later at OVW, WWE's training camp. Remember we had the developmental place,
sure.
Ohio Valley Wrestling, and when us guys at WWE didn't have anything to do, they'd send us out there to, train and help train, and I was sent down there to spend some time with some of these girls that were up and coming, and Mickey James was there, and who are the other gals? I'm so stupid to not know their names right now, but I'm old, so that's my excuse. Wow. But a lot of the girls that are there now and doing really well were down there, and they were frustrated and sick of it, and should I study cat fighting because that's what they seem to only be doing there? I said, no, don't you dare become worse at what you do. Just keep getting better and better. They're going to see the light. You're going to get up there, and you guys are the ones I want to pass my job to, not the bimbo girls. But it wasn't until really training down there, everyday drilling and chain wrestling, and, that's what really gets you in shape for wrestling. And I came back and had a really short stint, maybe going to be champ again against Jazz, and then she had an injury, so that kind of squashed that angle. But that was the only time towards the very end that I finally felt like I was a good wrestler.
Well, here's something I'd like to sort of see. I'd like to see if you would go with this as a comparison. Because again, if we say you've got Mando, who's given these girls who want to be famous, they want to be successful, but they have no necessary wrestling training at this point, and he's told go and make them good, and then fast forward in your career towards the end of your time in WWE, you ended up finding yourself as the trainer in a couple of seasons of Tough Enough, where you were given a bunch of girls who wanted to be famous but not necessarily have any wrestling training. Did you sort of look back and think, I can see exactly what Mando Guerrero thought when he was giving us back in the day? I don't remember thinking of Mando back then, but I certainly have that same exact. I think the difference between me and Mando in dealing with bimbos was that Mando isn't going to give his position to a bimbo. So he was probably more able to be kinder to us as bimbos learning how to wrestle. But I was not able to be very kind to bimbos because I knew that my job was at jeopardy because bimbos are moving in. And that pissed me off. It's your livelihood. Sure.
They always say, one of Al Snow's great comments, and I'm sure, he got this lesson taught to him through some of his coaches. But he said to the Tough Enough kids, and I'll never forget it, he said, you need to wrestle in a match like you're feeding your family with the prize money that you're going to get when you win. It has to be that real to you mentally when you go in to do your show, your piece of entertainment for, 8 to 10 minutes. You can't, you're not going through motions. You're not doing a dance. You're not showcasing your outfit or your hair or your yourself. You are in a battle. And when you win, you're going to go back and some person's going to give you your payoff, which is better than the loser. And that's what you bring home to your family and you feed them with that money. So I'm looking at the bimbo factor and I'm thinking to myself, where do you begin to try to teach them just that? Because they know they're there for a fashion show. They know they're there for the Diva magazine profiles and the DVDs and the bikini contests. And unfortunately at WWE, there are absolute certain times and eras where that takes precedence over wrestling. Yeah, it's a World Wrestling Entertainment, World Wrestling Federation. Yeah, it's a 2-hour wrestling show, but where the women are involved, very often it has nothing to do with wrestling. Even a valet and a manager that's female has something to do with wrestling because they interfere and they get involved and they take care of their, competitors, the people they manage, the men. But when the company falls into this era of tits and ass, it's really disturbing to me because there are women out there that are so beautiful when they wrestle. And they're so hot to watch compete that there's nothing not entertaining about that. Obviously, because there's tons of fans that dig it. So, there's women out there that are capable, and those women are so freaking special because it's not a normal thing for women to be able to do very well. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, it's kind of the, snuffing out real talent pisses me off. So, when I was teaching in training the Tough Enough people, that I kind of had this little bit of an edge because I was wanting to find people that could be passionate and care about being really good at wrestling. Not just showing up for a 2-year contract where they're gonna, take some pretty pictures and do some goofy things out there and then go on riding into the sunset. So,
do you think you managed that, though? Do you think you managed that? Because your first Tough Enough was Tough Enough 2, and both winners were female. They were Jackie Gader, now Jackie Haas, and Linda Miles, neither of which are really wrestling anymore. I mean, in that year, do you think that you managed to instill the values that you were thinking of into those two?
Well, I wouldn't have picked Linda Miles. And, I avidly said that when we had our little sit-downs to decide who would stay and who would go. I mean, it wasn't just all up to us, of course. But, Linda Miles definitely has great charisma, but she, I knew that she had an ego problem. And I outwardly said, I will shoot myself in my foot if Linda Miles gets picked.
Uh-oh.
Because I don't want to share a locker room with her. It's a team effort. You're looking for a sisterhood. There's something that, it sounds really corny, but I'm convinced because I've lived it. I've seen it when a few of us girls, like Victoria and myself and Molly Holly, and a few of us got together in New York to go visit the ladies, the very first ladies of wrestling, in their documentary, Lipstick and Dynamite, Piss and Vinegar. Remember that documentary? And
yeah, I can see it right here.
Go rent it. It's awesome. It's so well done. And we got a chance to go to their screening in New York because they were, WWF was passing through and I was doing WWE Experience at the time. And we all hooked up and we went to see this premiere. And there was, some of the gals. The ladies of wrestling are all the same. They had their sparkly tops on, and one gal was there, Gillum or something was her name. Mm-hmm. And pardon me for not getting the names exactly right again. But she had her little walker, and she was famous for wrestling bears back in the days, and, Penny Banner and Moolah, of course, was there, and May was there, and you get to meet them, and you think to yourself, gosh, thank goodness there's this venue where we can be as weird as we are and be accepted doing it because they're just like we are, or we're just like they are. We're women, but we're not totally cut out to just live how women are supposed to live to get along. To be ladylike and to be, able to, kind of know your role.
As someone once said.
It's a much vaster place nowadays where women can do just about anything they want. But imagine being Mae Young. Mae Young's got tattoos, and she used to smoke cigars with the boys.
Yes.
And she's 78 years old and still getting out there and taking bumps, for crying out loud. And she's in it still, and she's, trains people still, and she has something to say about this world of wrestling. So it's kind of like, where does she fit in back in the, 40s or 30s or when she was a little girl, What do you do when you have that kind of makeup and that kind of passion And, your circuitry just is wired a little bit different than most other little girls. So thank goodness there's the old traveling circus called wrestling. And these girls are willing to work hard enough, and they find their passion by entertaining people as women in the ring.
Otherwise you'll end up in jail, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. So at least they're not taking out their, getting their thrills in barroom brawls. At least they're entertaining fans with it, But I'm so glad that there's a place where people can be in their element. And it's sad when there's only a few places for women to do the wrestling. And then when there's this influence that women in a wrestling show don't need to know how to wrestle, they just should look good. That's, what are you doing? Look at our era at WWE. We all got bumped eventually because of the onslaught of the diva search. Mm-hmm. It was easier. It's like a wet t-shirt contest to a bar that doesn't have very many customers. Hey, how should we get guys in here to drink? Let's just have girls take their clothes off. Okay, good. That'll sell a few beers. So it's unfortunate that, that they don't just amp things up and get creative and really say, hey, let's get some cool angles going with the girls. Instead, they just give up and they do the same old wet t-shirt contest, So it's I don't know. I think that's kind of on purpose laziness or something on the writer's point or whoever's making the decisions.
Yeah, I think those decisions probably come from right at the top. I think that's probably
right from the top. I think so too, and I think it happens. And I think Wendy Richter will tell you the same thing, as you heard her say in her speech, that whenever the women's division gets just too damn good, it goes away. And I think that's what was happening. We had some great talent with Trish Stratus and Lita, and even Chyna was just she could have had such a great run as a part of the women's division, even though that wasn't where her heart was. But she could have really, really had a nice run with that. There's a lot you could do with a big person like that. And I don't know. So it got too popular, so they just kind of made it go away. Glow, though, the neat thing about Glow, and this is what's so alive about Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, is that Vince McMahon doesn't own it.
That's true. It's one of the few things he doesn't.
It's also what's really special, and everybody knows it, about Cauliflower Alley Club. Vince McMahon doesn't own it. And even though he makes all of us stars, and by being stars, we can then offer, some kind of pull and push and magnitude to outfits like Cauliflower Alley Club, and hopefully, like I can offer to Glow, just with a little bit of newfounded status. That is all Vince McMahon's doing, in that he has the platform to make us superstars. So I'm not dissing him and his outfit, but I think that Glow has such freedom in that it is its own creation. So we can go any which way we want with it. And the other thing that's really awesome about Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling is its innocence and its color. And it's got some real, genuine people in it. So that I think is what is going to be its lifeline. Is if you can keep everybody together and keep everybody moving in one direction, which Glow has had a hard time doing. But maybe this film will be the catalyst to kind of pull everyone together who wants to be involved. And maybe it'll have a second life, a third life.
Jumping back to Glow, I guess, because you sort of brought it back around there, and about the first life, I suppose. When we spoke to Little Egypt, she talked to us about how she had a role which she was fulfilling in her character, and the fact that she was given the Little Egypt character, and she was made to become Little Egypt, I guess. And now she says that she can't imagine being anybody else. Was that the same for you, or did they have a sort of a Tina Ferrari character who they wanted to be?
No, that was the really neat thing about Glow, is that we didn't, and as 20-year-olds that don't really want to have any homework at all, because, we just want to play and have fun. We would just moan and groan about having to write up our character's backstory. I mean, Matt Cimber was so fabulously creative that he would kind of plant seeds and say, okay, you two, like me and my friend Nadine, you guys are you're friends, of course you got good chemistry between you, you know how to dance because you're cheerleaders, so you guys are going to stick together. And Nadine has a very full bust. So he gave us the idea of being T and A. So from there, we made up our names, and we made up that we were from Beverly Hills and that we were rich and we were glitzy, and, we were kind of like Paris Hilton and her friend, the other friend. And before Paris Hilton was around, that's what we imagined ourselves being. So we had to go to the Las Vegas library on a field trip, and everybody had their paper and pen, and we had to go into our little separate cubby holes, and we had to focus on writing up a story of who we are, what's our name, where are we from, why do we wrestle, why are we here, what's our parents like, siblings, I mean, as detailed as we could be. And he just gave us homework. So we had to make up our own characters, and boy, were we angry about that. We were just so pissed. We're the talent. And why do we have to be writers, too? I mean, they hardly pay us to even be the wrestlers. We have to teach ourselves how to wrestle. We have to make up our own characters. We have to go to the costume lady and tell her what we like and what we don't. I mean, isn't that just so horrible? What a freedom that was. And that's what is so great about Flow, is we had ownership. They created ownership, and that's why we're still rooting and tooting and promoting Glow, because it was our show. Yes, we had a director, and yes, we had a wonderful host in, Rickless, who let us live in his hotel and tear it apart while we were there. But, we were the people that made those crappy little matches. We were the people, we didn't write the little skits, and that was, a guy named Steve, I can't remember his name. I know he was referred to as Putz by Matt Cimber, which isn't very nice, but he was, diligent about writing all these little skits that we did. And sometimes we would just put our foot down and say, I'm not saying that. That's too chauvinistic. Or as Nadine recalled, she said sometimes she'd be telling these jokes as letters to Ashley, and she would tell these double entendre jokes, and she didn't even understand what the punchline meant, but she would deliver the line anyway. And now when she's an old lady, she understands the punchline. So we really, we were just so, and I say this sarcastically, we were so tasked, to make our own characters. But yeah, we did. We wrote those raps, all the lyrics to our raps.
You wrote those yourself?
Yeah.
Wow.
Their own rap. I mean, we were, there you go. What kind of group does that, right? I mean, let me pull some of those Diva Search girls aside and see if they even have the brains to do that.
Do you remember your rap? Could you recreate it?
Probably so. You want to hear a line or two?
Go on.
Oh, please.
Hell, I should make you guys sing it. Come on, haven't you done your homework?
I can't remember that. I'm no good with lyrics.
Me neither. I'm not either, but this one stuck because I made it up. I think it goes, I'm Tina Ferrari, jet setting's my game. I like life in the fast lane. Men and money turn me on. I'm sexy and cunning like James Bond.
It's the best show of all time.
Wonderful. We've peaked as a podcast now, everybody.
I'm going to have to lie down.
Well, there's, the thing, too, about Glow that is so, the raps are silly. The whole thing is silly. But weren't the 80s kind of silly?
Oh, very much, yeah. It's a product of its time.
It is, isn't it? I actually have all of anything that was ever laid down for powerful women of wrestling. I have all that footage in my garage.
Really?
All of it. The original stuff. And I just think of it as, it's so packageable because of the retro factor of the 80s. The 80s was just a weird time, wasn't it? For fashion and for, golly, the big hair and the big jewelry and the goofiness. it was still kind of an innocent time, which is kind of appealing now, I think, because things have gotten so raunch everywhere. But yeah, so maybe we'll make another film out of POW. I sure would like to honor the ladies out there that grew up wrestling. I think they're kind of the second generation of wrestling, ladies in wrestling. Not Glow, but these gals that taught me so much, the Wendy Richters and the, you know, Peggy Lee Leather and Bambi and Heidi Lee Morgan.
Yeah, we'd love to talk about that now, actually. I mean that happened after you guys had finished season 2 of Glow, and David McLean and a bunch of you all headed off to form POW. What happened that caused that split then? What happened that caused David to go off and try and relaunch this different product?
Well, I wasn't there, but I can imagine. I mean, I wasn't there in the room, but I imagine it was just everybody fighting over money, because that's what happens when something becomes successful, right?
Yeah, fair point.
Everybody's got their hand in the pie, and nobody can, you know, get along, and everybody wants more control. And so I think David probably just split because of that, or you know, one or more of those reasons. And he got together some funding that he felt probably that he could trust more or manipulate better, and that was homegrown, you know, business people in his hometown. So he brought the show kind of back to his backyard and did a little dancing and salesmanship and got some money together. And, of course, everything ran over budget. So he had to keep going back and getting more money from his family friends and professionals that he knew. And these were, you know, all just regular people that helped produce and back POW. So, you know, and again, the talent, us guys, we were just, you know, making our own show again. Had a few new faces and we learned a lot, you know, in being more of a live show and instead of a studio setting, it was more for a live audience with cameras there instead of cameras there and the audience being, you know, lined up and invited in so that they could be on camera as a backdrop to a TV show. So it, you know, the whole kind of feeling of it changed in that it got bigger and a little more aggressive. The wrestling got more aggressive. But you know, in that same light, the factors fell off that made Glow so special, like the costuming and the skits, you know, those things went away. We had more of those locker room, I'm gonna get you know, who the hell do you think you are kind of interviews, and not the cute little tips from Tina and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, you talked about, like, you know, people who were involved in POW, like, you know, your Heidi Lee Morgans, your Luna Vachons, your Peggy Lee Leathers, all those people. Those are all people who, you know, were in the wrestling business outside of Glow. And, I mean, it's fair to say that Glow, for a while, certainly at the time, would have been looked down at by a lot of pro wrestlers as being, you know, just worthless.
Yeah.
So when you guys ended up going into POW and these guys now were coming in and you were all working together, did you find it difficult, or did these people invite you in and make it easy for you, or did these other veterans, did they sort of think, you know, who are these girls?
I think it comes down to just what's a payday and what's not.
Sure.
So as a female in wrestling, and say you've gone to, you know, your family are wrestlers, like in Luna's case, or that you've gone, you know, you've come up the ranks and you've actually trained at Moolah's camp, like a lot of the ladies had, you know, spent a little bit of time passing through there, if not a lot of time. And, you know, they are like entrenched in all of the rules and regulations of this, you know, member territories. You know, it wasn't a big TV scene then. It still wasn't a big TV scene, and especially wasn't television scene for women, as Wendy can attest to, you know. Mm-hmm. Vince would have a little tiny bit of women represented, but not a whole lot. So, and that was really the only place on TV for women to be showcased. So, out on the indie scene, or the territory scene, not the indie scene, but the territory scene, you have all these rules, and you even forfeit some of your paycheck to the people who train you or book you, you know, your booker. Mm-hmm. So there's all these rules that kind of are a little bit squishy. You know, I mean, if they squash your squash your paycheck and make you feel like you're owned by a bunch of people. So when How and Glow were around, which also then spawned several other all-women's wrestling shows on TV, because it seemed to be kind of a formula, people were catching on to it, and everybody wanted to make it happen so that the women would have a payday, be on TV, have a broader, viewership, and not have to go through all these rules and regulations that squish your paycheck right out of your hand. You know? You don't have to travel as much. You're not on the road. You got more time in the ring. You can showcase your character more on an all-women's card for television. So there was, imagine being Peggy Lee Leather or somebody who what I always called them. I called them the real wrestlers, because they grew up wrestling, and it's all they knew how to do. It's all they ever wanted to do. So what a great time for us guys, us little studio wrestlers, to come and actually get some hands-on training and have these girls take us under their wings and teach us, those of us that were willing to learn stuff. And then also on the flip side, what they get out of it is they're coming on board because of all those factors of, hey, I can finally be showcased on television. I mean, there's animosity though, of course, because imagine being them, and maybe this is a little bit the difference because I did notice and was pretty disappointed in a lot of the girls that came over from Glow to do POW. It was kind of like they stayed in this little bit of, hey, let's just have fun, let's just take this and it's a fun gig to do, and we'll just goof around and we'll party and we'll show up for the gigs and we'll do as little as possible in the ring, because we're not making much money, so why should we? But that's the difference there between that mentality and where I was coming from. Because I was coming from the fact that, oh shit, these girls really know how to wrestle, and they're the ones we're in the ring with. So how I always thought to myself, out of their position, why would they want to get in the ring with someone like me if it takes two people to make a good match? This is what you've done your whole life, and now you got to get in the ring with a Glow girl. I mean, why wouldn't you want to just hammer beat the pulp out of them? To save the match, just take charge and beat the pulp out of us.
Yeah.
So I kind of came out of a position of, man, I feel sorry for them. So I got to up my game. I got to go in there and ask them to please teach me some stuff so that I can help the match along so that they don't have to do all the work. And then, we can start working as a team out there. So my interest was the bar got raised, and again, that efficacy thing came in. It's like, am I going to look like shit out there, or am I going to look as good as those guys?
So it's kind of like, train me so you don't have to kill me.
Yeah, or train me so that I don't I don't want to embarrass you. You have a legacy to uphold. You have dads and brothers and, generations of wrestling behind you. Why would I let you down? You're the one that paved the path for me. You're half of the reason why these people are sitting in the seats. And then also I thought, wow, how hard it would be to be those guys who've actually worked for their paycheck their whole lives by taking bumps. And they take it seriously and they know the business, where we don't know the business because we've been doing wrestling for a TV show in a hotel, in a studio-based setting. And yet when we come out of the curtain, headed to the ring, everybody knows who we are because of TV. When they come out, not so many people root and cheer and boo because they don't have the television exposure. So I put myself in their shoes on that too. And it would, there's all the reason to really not embrace us guys, the TV wrestlers, I call us, the TV wrestlers. And it's the same out there when you're at Cauliflower Alley Club and you got Terry Funk, who has never been a Vince McMahon WWE talent. But look at him. I mean, he's well revered. He's, certainly a great performer. well known, been all over the world, and, certainly entertains the fans. So it's kind of, it's cool. I think it's way cool for the people who have made a living being a wrestler because they're passionate about it, and they're not TV wrestlers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. A TV wrestler is like, why is The Miz on Vince McMahon's show? Where did he come from? He was a reality show star from one of those, Survivor shows or whatever. What was it?
The Real World.
Yeah, he's a real world guy. So he's a kid with a personality. And, that's what he knows. He's like, put me on TV because I have a personality. And then he became a wrestler later. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we turned him down several times for Tough Enough. But yet now, so he's a TV wrestler. So I look at those guys as being TV wrestlers. Hey, and I'm a TV wrestler. I'm a TV wrestler. I've always been a TV wrestler. But there's a difference between the people out there that do it over and over again, and that's what's so fun and intriguing about the independent scene out there in the world, is that once in a while you see somebody in a promotion that is really good. I mean, they are theater actors. They know how to work the crowd. All their wrestling is, super great, cool. They can get thrown in the ring with any jack off and make them look great. And so that they deserve, the highest accolades, not the TV wrestlers that come out to a big Titantron, package, right? Some of these characters that, Vince McMahon and his group, they put together these awesome packages, and you can really like or hate a wrestler without even ever seeing them put someone in a headlock. Yeah. Right? We've seen a few of those in my time. I've seen a few of those where they make a big deal out of somebody and then they debut and they suck in the ring and the guy just disappears.
Yes, 2 weeks later they're gone.
Yeah. So I really had a feeling of, a kind of gratefulness towards the real wrestlers, as I called them in POW. And I also felt really afraid of them because I thought, man, those guys, they know how to hurt you in the ring if they really want to teach you a lesson. And I certainly think that possibly if I was one of those guys, I'd teach me a lesson. So they were more than gracious and understanding, and they were really good to those of us who wanted to learn. But the people that, and actually, I don't think anybody ever got injured, and there was no. If the real wrestlers, had a problem with the Glow girls, I think that they handled it very honorably because I never saw any problems there, any locker room discussions or snubbing or any of that stuff.
Sorry, as a quote-unquote TV wrestler, as you said you were at the time, and the quote-unquote real wrestlers at the time, did you feel that after a certain amount of time that you earned their respect because of the fact that you wanted to learn, you wanted to get better?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think that's what made me, that's what helped me to stand out from the rest of the group. And I think that's kind of the thing that helps me to, do a pretty good job with just about anything I pick to do, is just the willingness to work hard and learn new things and keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you can at least pass as okay at it. And of course, I'm super hard on myself. I call it talent anorexia. The unfortunate situation of an anorexic person, they can look in their mirror at their emaciated, 80-pound body and say, God, I look fat today.
Right, yeah.
So I've always looked at myself on camera and, in the ring, and I can hardly stand to look at it because I'm just so judgmental toward what I see. It's just I don't see anything very talented about it. So I have talent anorexia because I know that's not true because I wouldn't keep getting hired and I wouldn't get, the Glow Crown or the WWE title, or they wouldn't put me in the spot if I wasn't doing something right.
You touched on it there briefly, actually. I'd love to go back and chat a little bit about this, but just recently you were honoured by Cauliflower Alley in their annual reunion, and we had some friends that went to Cauliflower Alley, and I've seen various pictures on Facebook, and every picture I saw of you there, you looked like you were having the absolute time of your life. And everybody who says that they saw your speech, and everyone who saw you just was full of just positive things to say about you. What was the Cauliflower Alley experience like for you?
Well, it was. I didn't know what to expect because I've never been, and I of course always go to these wrestling things a little bit disgruntled because of how it's taking time away from your life in your real life, I call it, where you've got to earn a living and you've got customers and, you've got stuff to do, and you all of a sudden have to be yanked out of that to go do one of these wrestling things. But, that's just my stupidness, because then the other side of me says, oh my goodness, Lisa, you're being honored for your time spent in the wrestling world. Come on, it could be anybody, but they picked you. What a neat thing. And on top of that, you're going to see all these people you haven't seen in so many years, and you'll find out what they're doing now and find out about their families and their jobs. And, they're people just like you. They make you laugh all day long. So, it's kind of like everything. It's the getting there is the hard part, but once you get there, it's really, really fun. So anyway, it was super fun to, one, just dress like a girl every day. My nails are painted and my makeup's on, and I get to wear dresses every day and high heels. Of course, in Las Vegas, you can wear your sparkly clothes and you can wear every sparkly bracelet you have, and it still looks just totally acceptable. Nobody looks at you funny if you got your cheetah pants on. And I love doing that. And then seeing all the girls, it was really like super nostalgic, seeing all of the girls. And then on top of that, seeing these handsome guys like Ricky Steamboat and Stone Cold and Jim JR and his wife Jan, and they just all make you laugh so much. JR and Jan are just a kick. And you forget how much you like those people and how much you miss them. But mostly, everybody makes you laugh. And I laughed the whole time I was there.
You can tell.
I just did. You're not in your room very much, and I kept, angsting that I wasn't getting any pool time because I live in Washington, and it's, we're coming out of winter, and I was just so enthralled to be out in the sun.
Yes.
Well, we did. We had a tiny bit of pool time, but it was the time that you had to steal. I even had a date with Ricky Steamboat to go to the pool and have a vodka rocks with him. And, then the Glow Girls, they said, we're all getting together for lunch. You got to do that. And I was like, ooh, Ricky Steamboat and vodka in the pool for all the girls at lunch. And I did the girls at lunch because I thought, well, there's more of them. And, this is the beginning, and we all got to stick together, so I'll do the lunch.
So you stood up Ricky Steamboat?
I did, and then I kept hoping that he would have, forgotten. But then later at the banquet, he reminded me that he went out there, and he couldn't find me. I was like, oh, man, did I just blow it?
You probably just made every woman that listens to the show hate you, because everyone loves Ricky Steamboat.
Oh, and, me and Ashley, when we were, here we were in Glow, and we're in Vegas, and, we had to watch, get a quick education about wrestling. So we watched all the men's wrestling matches and tried to break things down in the ring, and really self-taught, obviously, in Glow. And, but Ricky Steamboat was on his heyday, so he was in all the magazines, and we used to, look at him and think, oh man, what a hottie, woo, woo, woo. He was like my favorite. And then in WWE, when I was just showing up for pay-per-views and stuff, so I was kind of out of the mix with regular traveling for that last year of my, time there doing WWE experience. But Ricky Steamboat came back as an agent. So, once a month or twice a month, I'd be able to bump into him and just look at him from afar. But I was always too chicken to go say hi. And then here I had a date with Ricky Steamboat. Oh my gosh. So hopefully we'll have a chance again to get poolside with Ricky Steamboat, because I don't know, maybe it's good. I would have probably got myself in trouble. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it was great. It was fun to see everybody. And the first night, they had on Monday night of Cauliflower Alley Club, they had 14 wrestling matches. And I got to see all of them. And it was so fun to sit down and be an audience member. And we were, we heckled with the bad guys and we yayed the good guys, and it was just, all over the place. There was one group that calls themselves, I think it's called Freak Wrestling, something like
Freak
that.
Show Wrestling.
Freak Show Wrestling. And that was really neat. What a great idea that is. I mean, they just were really freaky. Freaky costumes, freaky characters. That was fun. So that was, it was just every night there was something going on. And good visiting, and yeah, pretty neat. And again, it was this the freedom of people that have walked, all over the world wrestling, and not just the Vince McMahon program,
Just about Freak Show Wrestling, just for a second. Stacey Carter's part of that as well. Did you get a chance to catch up with her while you were there? The cat, or Miss Kitty?
Oh, Miss Kitty was there?
Yeah, I believe she works with Freak Show Wrestling.
No, she wasn't there. I didn't see her.
Oh, pity.
Yeah, pity. I would have had to kill her. No. Yeah, that's not one that I like too much.
I'll step away from the previous question very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe
that one brought a lot of trouble to our locker room. Yeah, that was a woohoo.
Maybe she saw you were there and she kept a low profile, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. I think she was gone. She probably would have come up, but yeah, That's no. I'm glad to hear that she's still wrestling. That's pretty cool. Because I wouldn't have guessed that she would stay with it.
Yeah, she's married to Sin Bodhi, the guy who runs Freak Show Wrestling.
Ah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, it's a good spot for her because she's quite a freak.
Interesting. Anyway, so we've discussed how much fun you had at Cauliflower Alley this year. Is it something you can see yourself going back to in future years now?
Oh, sure. I would do it just to support what it stands for. I think it's great that they recognize the fans with an award. I think it's great that they have a whole cross section of the TV wrestling and the independent circuit, and they just really recognize all facets of the wrestling industry. So I think it's a fun gig, and Vegas is always fun,
Yes.
I saw a show while I was there. I saw 3 attractions. I mean, I did a lot of stuff while I was there. Autograph signing, so I got to it was really a fun-filled, what was it, like a 6-day trip. Good getaway, too.
Excellent. You must be in a really great nostalgic mood then with, everything that Cauliflower Alley would have brought up with regards to your career, having this discussion with us, and then, obviously getting to see the final product of the documentary in LA then tomorrow. Just for everyone listening to the show, earlier on today you actually sent us an email with links to, and we'll put these on the front page of the website if you want to go and check that out. But there are going to be also screenings in New York and London in England.
Yeah.
So anyone, and that's going to include me because I'm going to go to that one. Anyone who wants to make their way to those, we'll hook you up with the link so you can get some tickets and go and check them out.
Yeah, and I think the tickets are only $10.
I think so.
So that's very doable, and and they do question and answer at each gig, so someone will always be there. Heck, maybe they'll fly me to London.
Ooh, there's an idea.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That'd be the best thing in the world ever.
Pack me in their suitcase, because I'd love to come back to England. Yeah. Fun.
Somebody who's listening to this, make this happen.
Yeah, make this happen. Make it happen. Well, and that's what this feels like to me. I mean, I really have been low profile for a lot of years because there's a time when you just have to say, in order for me to be good at, and successful at making a living and running my business, you got to focus on it and you got to give it your attention. And the wrestling world isn't paying my bills anymore. So I need to step away from that. I need to let it be. I love the fan mail I get. It's awesome, but I'm not going to spend the time right now to answer it all, I've got to find a way to do it though, because I'm saving it. I don't throw anything away. I save it. So, and I want to get to it, but it's got to somehow make sense to what you're focusing on in your life. So, but that's what this kind of feels like is there's a possibility here that something is resurging. Because I can't tell you that I would never want to, be involved in entertainment again. I mean, I love it. I love it. I feel most like myself when I'm in front of a camera. So we'll see what happens with all of this. But for now, it's all about promoting the Glow documentary because these gentlemen have worked super hard for so long. A film doesn't happen overnight. It's a lot of money and time and effort and a lot of diligence to put a film together, even a short film that lasts 10 minutes. So what is this? It's like 70-some minutes long, and we're going to give it all of our support and see what spawns from the Glow documentary. What possibilities, right?
Yeah, indeed. So, and you're going to go tomorrow and check it out, and essentially, for want of a better term, you're going to be like our roving reporter because we're going to get you back on the next podcast, and you're going to tell us all about how everything went, and if there are any stories, and what you thought about the final product as well. So,
and then we can compare notes when you see it.
Absolutely, yeah. And whenever we have you back on as well, for the fans who are listening, who are thinking, well, hang on, why aren't we asking more about WWE? We're going to do that next time you're on as well. We're going to ask you about some of that stuff and your time as Ivory and women's champion and so on. It's plenty of stuff to talk about there. I imagine that, I'll probably only have to prepare about 3 questions and you'll fill an hour. It'll be brilliant. So, but
you know what? I used to say that to all. As I did a lot of interviews with WWE, and I always tell the guy, because the reporter would show up and they're like, okay, this is what we're going to ask you. I said, don't tell me because it'll be boring if I know. and I had to just keep telling them, don't worry about a thing. You probably won't have to say a word.
I love it. Oh,
my God.
You're going to be the first person ever that we're going to have spread across 2 podcasts, and I'm more than happy that that's the case here because God knows we could go 5 podcasts with you. But, again, I'm going to say thank you very much. We're going to draw this one to a close. We're going to wish you all the best for your trip to LA to check out the documentary, and we will talk to you again. Hopefully next week we'll